Hello, welcome to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all of the places you can find me should be linked in the description box just below this video. And here on the channel you'll often find me chatting about my adventures in knitting and spinning and crochet and weaving. How are you all? I hope you are doing well. It's Monday the 23rd of March as I am recording this. I'm recording in the afternoon. I've had a reasonably busy day already. I went out for a nice walk on the beach and did a little bit of knitting, although it was quite chilly, and there might have been a little bit of footage of that at the start of the video. If any of that came out okay, I haven't edited it or looked at it yet. And then I popped up to work for an hour or so. I was expecting a delivery, so I had a couple of bits to do there. I usually take Mondays off, but that's okay. Life is slowing down right now in terms of the amount of work that I can do with everything that's going on with the coronavirus. So I don't mind doing a bit of work today because as I say, my days aren't going to be particularly full days of work in the coming weeks. Yeah, so now it's time for me to sit down and chat to you about what I've been making this week. I hope you're all doing okay out there and have got your project of choice and maybe a nice cuppa and are happy to spend the next half hour or so with me as I chat about what I've been making. I haven't actually got as much to chat to you about as I had imagined I would. I'm going to show you lots of works in progress today, not any finished objects this week other than a couple of small samples of yarn that I've made in my spinning. But my making mojo has been quite low the last week or so. I think it's just generally with everything going on in the world, it's been hard to keep focused, and I have been doing quite a lot of planning with regards to what might happen with my work and just life in general. So that's taken up quite a lot of energy. So oftentimes in the evening I've just been sat aimlessly scrolling through my phone, as we are wont to do these days, rather than sitting and creating as I usually do. But that's okay. I feel like my energy levels are starting to pick up again now, so hopefully over the next coming week I'll have plenty of progress. But I do have little bits of progress to show you on quite a few different projects. So I'm going to start with spinning this week because I do have, as I say, a couple of finished samples that I can show you. So first off is this lovely pink fluffy yarn that I was spinning on the Turkish spindle that I showed you last week. So it was a spindle that was sent to me by my lovely friend Caroline, which had been 3D printed by her husband. I forgot to bring the spindle up with me. It's got something else on it straight away. That's how much I'm enjoying spinning on that little spindle. But if you remember, it was the Turkish spindle that had the bronze coloured legs, and I was working away on this little sample from Spin Jones, and I have written down what was in the sample, but because it was quite an interesting mix of fibre. So it was superfine merino, rose, soy and milk protein. So rose, soy and milk protein are things I've never spun to my knowledge. It's always nice to have a go at spinning something new, and this fibre is so soft and fluffy. It's really nice. I ended up two-plying it, just wound it into a centre pull ball and then plied it back on itself. It's quite lumpy bumpy in places, but that's probably where I was both getting used to the Turkish spindle and also trying out some new fibres for the first time. So I've managed to get about 20 metres of two-ply from that little sample. So I'm really pleased with that. And that was from the Spin Jones sample pack in the ballerina colourway. And then secondly, on my wheel this last week, so on Edith, who is my Haldane Shetland wheel, I've spun a lovely little 20-gram sample that I picked up at Wonderwall last year from the lovely Marina Skewer. And Marina has a lovely podcast. She has the Marina Skewer channel here on YouTube, and she is also a producer and dyer of yarns and fibres. And at Wonderwall last year I picked up a 20-gram sample from her, which she has called Rhubarb and Custard, and the blend of the fibre was Blueface Leicester, wool, soy, cotton and flax. Again, lots of stuff that I've never attempted to spin before. And this is the yarn that I produced from that sample. And again, it's really lovely. This fibre wanted to spin really quite fine. So this is actually a 3-ply Sorry, I'm struggling to figure out where where I need to hold stuff this week. For some reason, when I set my camera up, I've got the camera on the opposite side to usual. So, so yeah, I managed to spin a really nice fine single, and because I only had 20 grams on one bobbin, I decided to chain ply it. And I find that my chain plies are a little bit more tightly twisted than sort of my 2 plies, but I'm coming round to liking the 3-ply yarn quite a lot. Marina does quite a lot of natural dyeing. I'm unsure whether this is naturally dyed. It doesn't actually say on the label at all. But I managed to get 40 metres, or approximately 40 metres of a chain plied yarn from that lovely sample bat. And if I have any pictures or video clips of what the fibre looked like before I started spinning with it, I'll pop that in here too. Because I think that's always fun to see the difference in the sort of like the bat or the rolag or the braid, what that looks like before you spin it into yarn. I have one final little sample of yarn that I've spun up this week, and it's really fun. So let me just show you the yarn. It's very textured, it's quite lumpy bumpy, but I enjoyed spinning this so much. Yeah, here you can see it's very sort of textured. There are sort of nappy bits all over the shop, but I really enjoyed spinning it. And let me just show you, I'm not going to talk too much about this because I'm hoping to do a Yarn and Yarns extra. Many of you said that you wanted extra spinning content, so I'm hoping to make some sort of video regarding this. But what are you waffling on about, Ange? So a few weeks ago, the lovely Julie sent me a package with some spindle, with a spindle and some fibre in, and amongst the fibre that she sent were these sort of like woolly, I don't know what they're classed as, whether they're ends, leftovers, but as you can see, it'll be very difficult to kind of spin these up as they are. But when I was given my Niddy Noddy, I was also given a few other bits and pieces, and amongst those were these hand carders. So I have been using these hand carders to turn those bits of fibre into these mini rolags. I think they're really referred to as poonies, which I've then spun up into this fun yarn. So as you can see, I've got plenty more of this fibre, and I'm just mixing it up on the carders and spinning this really fun textured yarn. And I think I am contemplating spinning up the rest of the fibre, and if I have enough, making perhaps a little gnome to give away here on the channel at some point. Finally, for spinning this week, rather excitingly, I have managed to get my Ashford traditional up and working. So I was so very kindly given an Ashford traditional probably a year, 18 months ago, but she needed a little bit of work doing to her, and I didn't really know what I was doing. But recently my lovely friend Tracy came to visit. Tracy's taking a year out at the moment, and she lives in New Zealand, but has come to visit her relatives and her friends in the UK. When she's in New Zealand, she works for an Ashford dealer, so she helped me to get the wheel almost to a working state, and I had one more part to fix to it, which I recently did. And I have been spinning some gorgeous fibre that was sent to me by Caroline, Colourful Creativity here on YouTube, and I have spun the first bobbin. So it's, as you can see, really fun tones of brown and yellow and green, and there was about 200 grams of this fibre. So the great thing about this Ashford traditional is this is about 100 grams of fibre on this bobbin, and on my Haldane I would struggle to fit that much onto the bobbins. They're quite small, so I'm really excited to have the capacity to sort of spin a little bit more and not have to sort of join the yarns or make sort of mini skeins of the yarns. I'm working away on the second bobbin of this fibre, and that's downstairs on my wheel at the moment. So with any luck, in the next week or so, this one will be finished. The one downside to the traditional, I haven't named her yet. I think she might be Eliza. My Haldane I've called Edith. I think my traditional might be Eliza, but I haven't settled on that yet. The one downside is when I was given the wheel, I was given 5 bobbins, but only 2 of them seemed to fit onto the flyer. So I ended up winding off all this fibre that I've spun onto one of the bobbins that doesn't fit onto that flyer. So that's going to be a little bit of a pain. I think I'm going to need to make the best use of that wheel. I think I'm going to have to invest in a couple more bobbins, which is fine, but not ideal at the moment financially. So that might have to wait, but it's no hardship. I am super spoilt in that I own 2 spinning wheels now. Yes, I'll be able to continue to spin, whether I have to spend extra time winding stuff off or whether I just use my other wheel again for the time being. I think this is just the merino fibre. There were no details on the package when Caroline sent it, but I know that Caroline has previously enjoyed working with a lot of merino, so I'm assuming that it's probably that. I think I'm going to 2-ply this because I will end up with 2 bobbins worth. So that just seems like the most straightforward thing to do. But yeah, hopefully I shall have some finished yarn from this beautiful fibre to show you next week. On to crochet. A quick update on the open grid sweater project that I chatted about last week. I have washed and blocked the front piece of that sweater. It has softened up a little bit. I've left it, it's downstairs in the bedroom, just sort of on the floor where it was drying flat. I've left it there to ruminate on for a little while. I think I'm erring towards just frogging that project. Although I love the look of the sweater in the pattern, and although it has softened up a little bit in the blocking, I just don't think I'm going to wear it. So although I'm enjoying making it, it just doesn't seem worth me investing any more time on that project. I will think on it for another day or 2 before I make that final decision. But I think because I'm not sort of gung-ho full of enthusiasm for that project, I think it's probably the universe telling me I need to rip that one out and just call it a day and concentrate on other things. And the one thing that I do need to concentrate on is the test crochet that I am doing for the lovely Amanda, who is Master Yarnsmith. I showed this project a couple of weeks ago and then promptly put it away because I needed to rip out what I'd done and restart. There were a few corrections that came out to the pattern after I'd started my test knit. So this doesn't actually look much different to what it looked like when I showed you a couple of weeks ago. However, I have put quite a bit of work into this because I have restarted it. The pattern is the Catacombs crop top. I'm crocheting mine from Rowan cotton glacé yarn. And you have a contrast colour for the bottom and then you go into the main colour. So my main colour is going to be this blood orange colourway, and my contrast colour is this lovely sort of chocolatey brown. So I've started again and I've got 1 more row left, I think, or maybe 2, until I've finished the first pattern repeat. So if I hold it up and you can see the on the orange wall behind me, that skull pattern is starting to emerge. This really didn't take me that long at all, maybe an hour or so yesterday afternoon. So I'm quite confident that I'll be able to put plenty of work into this and catch up on the test crochet and get it done for Amanda. Her original deadline was the middle of April, so I've still got a month or so to work on that. And yeah, it's a crop top, so it's not sort of massively long, and the inches grow quickly in crochet. It's quite an open work pattern, so yeah, I am not panicking about that one yet. I'm currently living in my project bag. I think I bought this from Gibby Russo's ages ago. I might be wrong, there isn't a label in it, but I'm pretty sure it was Gibby Russo's over on Etsy. I purchased one of the first project bags that I ever purchased. On to knitting. So I have 2 works in progress to show you and also a new cast on. So I think I might as well just start with a new cast on. It's only the teeny tiny little slip of a cast on, and if my video clip at the start worked okay, this is what I was working on while I was at the beach this morning. So nothing much to show yet, but just some garter stitch squishiness. I'm test knitting a shawl pattern for my lovely friend Charlie, who is yarn ambassador here on YouTube, and Charlie Buttons over on Ravelry, that's her design name. And she is hoping to bring out a nice shawl pattern. It should be a really quick, simple knit. The main body is knit in double knit yarn, and then there is some edging in a fingering weight yarn and mohair held together. And it just requires 100 grams of double knit, so I'm hoping to get this finished for her quite quickly. But I cast it on last night using 2 balls of Debbie Bliss Rialto, and it's this lovely deep sort of purpley plum colour. So yeah, I'm hoping this will grow quite quickly. I knit on this for maybe half an hour or so last night, and then I did a couple of rows down on the beach this morning. So yeah, I think it's going to grow quite quickly, and hopefully I can have this tested for Charlie in the next week or so. And I'm keeping that. I found this project bag that I made a while ago, which the purple just matches perfectly to that purple yarn, so couldn't not keep it in there. I also pulled out 2 long languishing sweater whips over the last couple of weeks, and I've put some progress on both of those. This week I've also put some work in on my Love Note sweater, which is a pattern by Tin Can Knits, but I'm not going to show that today because it doesn't really look that much different than when I last showed. It's just grown an inch or so on the body. But this pattern you have not seen for a while, and it's actually a cardigan for James, and it is the Dude sweater pattern. Which is a pattern by Andrea Wrangle. You'll find it over on Ravelry, and it is inspired by the cardigan worn by Jeff Bridges in The Big Lebowski. So it's a big cosy colourwork cardigan, and the last time you saw this I was sort of down here, so I've put a good few inches in. I've just started this colourwork panel. It's fairly complex in that the cardigan is 1 by 1 rib all over, and obviously it's worked in pieces, so you're working flat backwards and forwards, and there's big panels of colourwork. But it does grow reasonably quickly. The yarn is Cascade Eco, which is a nice chunky yarn. It comes in really big skeins. So yeah, when I do sit down and work on this, it grows quite quickly. I've got maybe 4 or 5 rows of the colourwork pattern to go, which is the main sort of body of the back, and then I'll be back to this plain knitting, which will go by really, really quickly. The reason I'm progressing quite slowly on this, well, aside from the fact that it's been languishing for ages, is that the other reason is I'm following the chart on my phone. I haven't had an opportunity to print it out, and so it's a bit hard on my eyes and following backwards and forwards. I can't see the whole chart at once, so I'm kind of scrolling backwards and forwards and trying to keep track of where I am. So it takes a good few hours to just get a few rows done in this colourwork pattern. But yeah, it's finally getting some love and some progress. And James seems to be quite happy about that. I'm sure it will probably be midsummer before it's finished, and he won't get to wear it until next autumn or winter. But at least it is seeing some progress again. And then, because I had pulled out an old sweater whip for James, I had to pull out one of my old sweater whips as well. Only fair, don't you think? So living in this project bag, which was I think the first bag I ever made. I put my little orange cat label out on the front there, and these fun little birds patterns with this kind of thicker linen fabric on the bottom. And in this bag is living my Aliba Linde sweater. So this has not seen the light of day for a year and more. This was one of my 12 cast-ons of Christmas, not this year but the year before, and it's just sat in the project bag languishing ever since. So the pattern was originally published in Pom Pom Quarterly autumn to 2017, so quite a few years old now. And I'll show you a picture of what the finished sweater looks like. It's a little bit difficult to see on these pictures because they're quite dark, but it's an all over fingering weight textured sweater, and then at the top of the sweater, you can't really see it, but it switches just to stockingette for the top. And I fell in love with that sweater pattern as soon as that magazine came out, and then, as I say, I cast it on for my 12 cast-ons 2 years ago, and then sadly it's sat languishing, so I thought it was high time to get this project back out of the bag. So I have put in a reasonable amount of work on this over the last couple of weeks. I know it doesn't look like tons of progress, but but these are quite long rows. It's a fingering weight and it's all over texture, so every row bar a couple in the pattern repeat are knits and pearls in every row, and some of them have little twisted cables. So this marker here shows where I got to on the sort of like 12 cast-ons, and then obviously you can see I've done a good couple of inches in the last couple of weeks. So one issue that I do have is that my tension has changed quite a lot since I started. You can probably see it on camera. So my tension down here is quite a lot tighter, though my tension up here is a bit looser. I'm trying to go back to working, like consciously working a little bit tighter, so that the texture pattern shows up a little bit more. But I'm not going to pull it out. I'm not going to start from the beginning. This is hours and hours of work. So I shall live with the slightly different change in tension, and I think once it's blocked out it probably won't show that much, hopefully. The yarn that I'm using is from a lovely dyer, Becky, who is Mahudley. I had a quick check on her Instagram page, and I don't think she's dyeing at the moment. There were no links in her profile to her website or an Etsy shop, which is a real shame because her colourways are beautiful. But this yarn I picked up at Yarnporium a couple of years ago. I didn't have a sweater pattern in mind when I picked the yarn up, but I picked up, I think, 4 skeins, maybe 5 skeins of this beautiful colourway, which is called John Hammond, which is this lovely sort of chartreusey green colour, and then on a whim I also picked up a couple of mini skeins of this darker green colour, which she calls Calcifer. So I decided to use that as a contrast band. Yeah, happy to be back to working on a Liebe Linde. I think you can see the texture quite nicely when I hold it back here. This is going to be slow progress. I've got to do I think it was 10 pattern repeats for my size, and I've done 2 so far. So yeah, there is lots and lots and lots of knitting to go, but I'm happy to have this out of the languishing whip pile, and I think I'm just going to try and steadily plug away on that over the coming months, and maybe it'll be finished by the end of the year. We shall see, we shall see. I am alternating skeins. Obviously it's hand-dyed yarn. I'm not using the helical sort of slip stitch method for this alternation because it's a pattern, so I'm just carrying the yarns up at the beginning of the row inside the sweater for that. So every round I am swapping over skeins. It's really, really nice to be working on some of these older projects again. As you know, I do easily get distracted by, oh, shiny new cast on, but there's something quite satisfying about going back to these projects, and this is why having lots of sort of project bags full of whips doesn't really faze me, because it's nice to have the choice, and if you get fed up with one thing, it can, you know, go and sit in the corner for a while and you can get excited about something else. So yeah, I love that, and I love having the option to swap between different types of knitting. So obviously the Dude is a chunky weight sweater, so once my hands get tired of that I can switch down to a fingering weight project. If I need to have something to engage my brain, then I've got these sort of like more complicated patterns if I need something a bit easier. my hands just want to work but my brain doesn't want to think, then I have other stockinette projects on the go that are just great TV knitting. So that's one of the joyful things about having multiple works in progress on the needles. So I think that's everything for the making this week. So just a couple of things to chat about at the end here. First is, don't forget we have 2 make-alongs going in the Ravelry group at the moment. So the first one is the 12 cast-ons make-along. That's going to continue all year. Anything that you cast on for the 12 cast-ons of Christmas Cal and you work on and finish throughout this year, then pop a picture of your finished object in the finished object thread, and every quarter I will do a prize drawing. So the first drawing will be coming up at the end of this month. So if you're working on your stuff and you've nearly finished, make sure that you pop that over on the finished object thread soon. And then we also have our new techniques make along. So if you want to try out something new, then just pop a picture in that thread, chat about what you're making, what you're planning. You don't have to finish that object. It's just a way of getting people to try something that they maybe haven't tried before, and literally anything that you haven't attempted before counts. And before I sign off, I have one big thank you to say to everyone who has been able to donate to the channel via the Ko-fi link. Since I last recorded last week, I have been so blown away by the generosity of the viewers here on this channel. As I always say, I'd like to be open and honest about the amount of money that I'm receiving via that link, and this week I received a massive £48, which just, yeah, you guys are so generous. This is a tough time for many people, and I'm just so thankful that everyone out there watching continues to support the channel, whether it be by using that Ko-fi link, by purchasing something from my bricks and mortar yarn shop, or just by watching the channel. I know it's not within everyone's means to financially support creators here on YouTube or makers, and things are only going to get tougher over the coming weeks. So thank you guys so much. We did have the news that the Wonderwall Festival has been cancelled, so I was sort of stockpiling that Ko-fi money to use for transportation and some treats at Wonderwall. So I'll put that on hold for now, and maybe we'll make it to a fibre festival at the end of the year if the situation improves and events can be hosted again as the year goes on. I've also been thinking I might have a little look round. I mentioned earlier that I could do with some bobbins for my Ashford traditional, so I may dip into that little pot of coffee donations and treat myself to something, but I haven't really looked into that yet. I haven't made a decision on that, but whatever I do with those donations, I try and make it something that will bring some improvement to the channel, whether that be improvement in content. You know, if I have extra equipment, then I'm able to try different things, make different things and show those to you, or whether it's equipment to help me try and improve the quality of the videos that I put up. It is quite time consuming to record, not to record the videos, but to do the edit, the uploading, adding the links and stuff. But the time and effort that I put in is absolutely worth it, given the amount of lovely support that I receive from everyone who continues to tune in and watch the videos and leave lovely comments. It just makes the whole experience so enjoyable for me. So thank you so much. Okay, so that is everything, and I will sign off for now. I am trying to keep the momentum going and hope to put up some more Yarn on Yarn extra videos this week. Thank you to everyone who's left lovely comments to say that they appreciate the extra videos as a little bit of company, a little bit of a distraction from everything that's going on. So I will continue to try and put those up as and when I'm able to. I'm not promising every day, but I'm going to try and pop up as often as I can. So until I get to spend time with you again, I hope that you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now.